Multiple female leads, sweet and greasy dog food articles, no knives, no stock trading, traversing into a parallel world. With the system by his side, Suan was determined to become a leisurely salted fish, but he never expected that they would all cheat. The class monitor, who blushes and blushes easily, takes the initiative to complete the task. The silver-haired girl who grew up with her childhood sweetheart was wondering if she could upgrade a pair of A to D. The domineering and unreasonable goddess sister is increasingly fond of spreading dog food in public. Keywords of the novel. They are all bound to the love system without pop-ups, they are all bound to the love system for downloading the complete set of TXT, and they are all bound to the latest chapters of the love system for reading. Chapter 1. Do you like me? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Do you like me? Parallel world, blue star, Annam City. April is full of spring. In the courtyard of a villa, blooming roses cluster in clusters, colorful and red, and the air is filled with a faint fragrance. At this moment, it is dusk, and the soft sunset is scattered on the face of a young man. Clear and handsome, with extraordinary temperament. Suan looked contented and lazily basked in the sun. Calculating the time, he has been in this world for a full 10 years. Due to an accident during his time traveling, Suan transformed into a 7-year-old man. By chance, he was adopted by the lonely old man Su. Half a year ago, old Su passed away, and since then, Suan has been living alone. He really likes everything now. In his past life, Suan was a top student, a complete and unparalleled figure. He was admitted to Qinbei without any doubt, and later smoothly entered the top 500 international companies for work. In order to establish himself in a big city, save enough down payment, and live up to the expectations of his family, Suan worked hard until his sudden death. Fortunately, the heavens gave him a chance to start over, and Suan made up his mind to no longer live for the sake of survival. It's good to be happy in life. Suan, at this moment, a gentle and pleasant voice awakened him from his memories. Class monitor. Suan was somewhat surprised. At the entrance of the villa, there stood a pretty girl. She was wearing the school uniform of Ivy League High School, with a fair and delicate face, like a newly grown small apple, with a unique green and cute charm that only belongs to this age. Chanxi waved his hand. Suan hurriedly walked over and opened the door for the other person. The two of them walked into the yard, one in front and one behind. Class monitor, why did you come? Today is Wednesday, the girl whispered as a reminder. I know, you haven't been to school for 3 days. Chanxi bit his lower lip and looked at him with a heavy heart. Su Anrua pondered and said, it seems so. You sit down for a while, I'll go get you a glass of water. He quickly changed the topic. A year ago, Mr. Su's health was not very good because he had a bad temper and the caretakers he hired couldn't manage him. As a result, Suan had to take frequent leave, but there was no delay in his studies and his grades remained among the top. Over time, he often skipped classes at home. No, thank you, Chanxi quickly refused. Did you draw this? It's so beautiful. The girl's gaze was drawn to a painting board in front of the stairs, and a brilliant sunset was painted on it. The glow soaked through the clouds, making it incredibly beautiful. Suan is not humble, but the fact is that he has just learned and his drawing is average. The layer-by-layer progression of the glow color is too harsh, and the light in the shadows of the clouds is not realistic enough. Ordinary people just don't pay attention to these things. Chanxi pursed his lips and didn't take any action. They had been in the same class for 3 years, and there seemed to be a mystery about him. I remember in my first year of high school, he helped me drive away a few annoying hooligans. That time, Suan fought 3 times alone and surprisingly did not fall behind. It turned out that he knew martial arts. Later, I heard rumors from my classmates that Suan's father was a retired Special Forces soldier. In the second year of high school, the school held a final party and Suan was forced to sing a song about blue and white porcelain, which amazed the whole audience. Su-an's grades are very good and he is steadily ahead of himself. Chanxi was actually a bit distracted. Are you coming to school tomorrow? Su-an felt a bit embarrassed, but in the end, he nodded and the class monitor had to give face. Upon hearing the affirmative answer, Chanxi couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief and unconsciously revealed 2 small dimples. The admiration value from Su-an +2, in consciousness, a voice comes out. Chanxi's heart is blocked, stingy Su-an. Just like the female protagonist in a novel, she obtained a system 6 months ago that allows her to earn item points as long as she receives admiration from others. These points can be exchanged for some strange things. Her current permissions can be exchanged for 3. A self-written dream requires 800 points. Staying up late doesn't harm the body, it takes 1,500 points. The most expensive thing is a day of good luck, which requires a full 30,000 points. Chanxi only redeemed it once, and on that day she specifically went to buy a lottery ticket and really won 300 yuan. Happy compared to starting items with points that often exceed 1,000, Su-an is like a dull wooden person, with pitifully low contribution points. Class monitor Su-an looked at the girl's shy expression and suddenly had a thought. What's wrong? Chanxi panicked and quickly suppressed his chaotic thoughts. You probably don't like me, do you? Su-an looked at the girl with a serious expression on his face. Love is a troublesome matter. You, Chanxi couldn't speak for a long time. The whole person is like an ant thrown into a hot pot, with a fair face instantly turning red, even to the point of redness in the ears. No, nothing. Moreover, even with no, not at all. Chanxi felt drunk and his face was scorching hot. Why is this happening? The admiration value from Su-an +50, Chanxi almost burst into tears. The other party rarely has such a high level of admiration. It is clearly a form of bullying. The girl lowered her head in grievance. Sorry, I'm just joking, don't worry too much, Su-an chuckled. The class monitor is really cute. No wonder she was named the school flower. Why are you doing this? Chanxi felt his face was still a bit hot. Her fingers were clasped together anxiously, and her gaze was too afraid to make any further contact with the other person. You came to me because of the party. I said I'm not planning to participate. Su-an thought of the reason for her. The college entrance examination is approaching, and the school is worried that everyone's strings will collapse too tightly. In order to ease their emotions, they have decided to hold a party. High school freshmen and sophomores are the main members of the evening party, while high school seniors only need to schedule one program. Classmates all think it's best for you to sing a song. Chanxi breathed a sigh of relief. That's really why she came here, but because she was too nervous, she forgot. Too troublesome, Su-an didn't want to make a name for himself. The second time in high school was because everyone in the class had to attend. Most people sing in groups of several people, but because Su-an skipped class, he forgot about this incident, which became a solo. Chanxi was inexplicably disappointed, thinking that the other party would agree for the sake of her own face. But now it seems that it's just one's own wishful thinking. Class monitor, why don't you go dance? Su-an suddenly looked at the other person curiously. Usually, beautiful girls can dance, which is called promoting their talents. I don't know, Chanxi shook his head hastily. Learning to dance costs money. Her family background is not good, although her parents came to work in Annan City very early, they did not buy a house. Nowadays, house prices, rent, and prices are all skyrocketing, and the family's situation is somewhat tight. But in her spare time, she will stay at home and learn from some dance district up masters, purely for self-entertainment. I don't believe it really, the class monitor's dance must be beautiful. No more, Chanxi suddenly looked like a frosted eggplant. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Chanxi and Qier. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 2. Chanxi and Qier. After 3 years in the same class and 1 year at the same desk, Suan felt that the class monitor was becoming more and more agile. Especially when shy. The admiration value from Suan plus 10, Chanxi pursed his lips, feeling a little aggrieved. Suan is really stingy. At this moment, a cold snort suddenly broke the relaxed and freehand atmosphere between the two. Chanxi followed the sound and saw a hint of amazement in his dark eyes. I saw a petite young girl standing outside the iron gate. She was also wearing the Ivy League school uniform, but what caught my attention was her snowy silver hair. Qier. Chanxi has heard of this name more than once. Cicada Creek, there's a girl named Qier who's so beautiful and wants to compete with you for the school flower throne. Cicada Creek, I went to see it myself. Her breasts are not as big as yours, so boys must like you. Cicada Creek, are there really people who are born with silver hair? They should be dyed, right? Cicada Creek, I heard that Qier is Suan's childhood sweetheart. Someone saw them go to school together. With so much gossip, what Chanxi cares most about is the last point. She doesn't care about the title of school flower. Childhood sweetheart, that's great. The door was not closed, and Qier walked step by step with a clear expression. Although her body was petite, it had the power of mountains and rivers. Chanxi was inexplicably nervous, like a thief who was caught stealing from his master's house. How did you come back? Suan was a bit surprised. Qiqi is a resident student and usually only comes back on Fridays. Qier just gave him a faint glance, ignored, and then turned her gaze to the unfamiliar girl beside her. The same school uniform seems to be Suan's classmate. This chest. Qier felt a hint of resentment. Feeling the other person's gaze drifting back and forth on him, he finally landed in a strange position. Chanxi couldn't help but cross his fingers and was at a loss. This is the first time she has had such close contact with this legendary girl. In private, everyone commented that Qier is very aloof and arrogant, doesn't like to talk to others, and is difficult to get along with. It seems that this is really the case. Why is it so impolite? This is our class monitor Chanxi. Suan slapped her big hand and directly covered Qier's small head. The small clump of silly hair on her head was instantly flattened. Suddenly, the silver-haired girl lost all her momentum, and she immediately struggled out in dissatisfaction. Her name is Qier, a high school freshman, Suan introduced. Hello, Chanxi squeezed out a smile. The silver-haired girl nodded and the three of them were embarrassed and speechless. At this moment, a strange fragrance came from the room, and Suan realized it. He cooked soup in the kitchen himself. Have you eaten yet? He looked at the two maids. You guys. Qier frowned slightly. It seemed that brother Suan was going to take in other women. She turned her gaze to Chanxi. Chanxi was taken aback for a moment. She hesitated a bit, feeling that it was not suitable, but she also had some expectations. I'll cook noodles, eat them before leaving. Suan made a decision for the other party. Very soon, then he gave Qier a slightly threatening glare, signaling that she wouldn't mess around, and then hurriedly entered the kitchen. Qier ignored it directly. For a moment, there were only two young girls left in the courtyard. Chanxi was at a loss, and in order to ease her embarrassment, she pretended to look around. This villa has a total of 2 floors. From the exterior, although it looks a bit old, she knows that the average price of houses here has already exceeded 100,000 yuan, which is a height that ordinary people cannot reach. Thinking of this, Chanxi sighed secretly. Then her gaze fell on the clumps of roses in the corner. Is this planted by Suan? The girl walked over and bent down to watch carefully. And Qier sat on the old man's chair at the door, closed her eyes, ready to take a nap. In the kitchen, Suan is busy with work. This was all learned after Mr. Su fell ill, and before that, he had only been focused on eating. Mr. Su's cooking skills are very good, he thought he could keep eating. The gas stove has been turned to the minimum, and the corn and pork ribs inside have been cooked for 2 hours. Noodles are ready. Made hanging noodles, and soon, 3 steaming bowls of pork rib noodles were served on the dining table. Very fragrant. Suan was very satisfied. Stepping out of the living room, Qiqi had already taken a nap, and her complexion looked a bit lackluster. I must have stayed up late again recently. Suan felt a sense of helplessness. Although Qier is still a student, she is a somewhat famous writer in private, earning money every day. It seems that the copyright income of her previous book was in 7 figures. However, as a minor, her small vault is firmly controlled by a woman. Suan didn't originally want to wake her up, but Qier suddenly opened her eyes and she slept very lightly. Eat before you sleep, Suan touched her head, feeling a little distressed. At such a young age, why do you earn so much money? The silver-haired girl suddenly tightened her face, then stood up and shook off the other person's hand. She didn't want to be treated like a child all the time. I'm hungry. Qier entered the room. Chanxi, let's have dinner, Suan shouted to the girl who was pretending to be a passerby. Chanxi lowered her head and let out a sigh of regret for not refusing earlier. Now she had to grit her teeth and follow along. The kitchen leads to the restaurant, which is quite large and can accommodate even 7 or 8 people. Suan and Qi sat together, while Chanxi sat directly across from them. It's a bit hot. Suan blew hot air. Qi yawned and felt extremely sleepy. Last night, what time was it written? 3 o'clock, Qi said casually. She was a bit hungry and exhausted, so she took the lead in using her chopsticks. Girls stay up late less, it's not good for their skin, Suan scolded in an old and arrogant manner. The silver-haired girl replied vaguely. Chanxi lowered his head to eat noodles, listening to the casual conversation between the two of them, feeling a strange feeling in his heart. Bagua doesn't seem to come from nowhere. Suan and Qier are childhood sweethearts and have a good relationship. And she doesn't seem as cold as rumored. Is it because Suan is here? Could it be a bit faded? Suan looked at the girl across from him. Chanxi shook his head and said, "These noodles are very delicious." "Thank you." Qier looked up and said indifferently, "Do you think it's delicious under brother Suan?" She deliberately paused midway. Suan couldn't help but understand the implied meaning behind Qi's words, and directly reached out to give her a violent shudder. Dong! Qier suddenly twisted her teeth in pain. Chanxi looked at the two with a bewildered expression on his face and asked anxiously, "Isn't it delicious?" Qier was about to speak when Suan immediately silenced her. Qiqi's pen name is the Dirty Demon King, and with a slightly larger female frequency scale Su Onsong let go and felt deeply worried. If this continues, I will have Aunt Chen file a complaint. Qier was not afraid at all and sneered, "Aunt Chen. Isn't it called Jiner sister?" Su An's face turned black, he lowered his head to eat noodles, pretending not to hear. If Chen Jiner were there, he would definitely go crazy. Chanxi listened in confusion and decided to silently eat noodles. Soon, the bowls of the 3 of them were almost bottomed out. Qier felt sleepy and just said, "I'll go to bed, and then I'll go home. She lives next door." Without one person, Chanxi suddenly felt much more relaxed. The class teacher said about the evening party, so Suan is suitable. Anyway, he doesn't usually attend classes, she said with a light smile. Suan couldn't conceal his embarrassment. "I'll think about it again. Are you going to class tomorrow?" Chanxi asked. Suan nodded. "Then I'll leave first. I'll see you off." No need." Chanxi hurriedly walked to the door and waved her hand. "See you tomorrow then." End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Su An's cheats. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 3 Sue An's cheats: washing dishes, tidying up the drawing board, mastering mobile phones, a simple and unadorned day's life. In the WeChat account, Mr. Sue, Eat Chicken, a person with the note, Wang Teng, sent a game invitation. The college entrance examination is coming soon, your mother confiscated your phone. Sue An asked, and Wang Teng was his desk mate. Don't relax. Just now, my dad wanted to team up with me, and I thought he was too incompetent. Sue Anduin couldn't help but laugh and said, is it even worse than you? I'm at least my ace, play on your own, don't, it's about to fall off, Mr. Sue. Please hold on to your thighs. Then be careful. Suan drew out the chat interface and clicked on the window marked as Qier sister. Chi is back. Just after a while, the opposite party immediately replied with a message. Oh, I'm off work now. The other party added a happy expression. Do you want to bring you something to eat? I have eaten it. I'll just casually ask, proud. Hee love beautiful yoga gym, North Ring Road, Annan City. A plump and pretty woman put away her phone and lazily stretched her waist. From the side, the curvature is extremely beautiful. The parts that should be thin are not fat at all, and the parts that should be big are not small at all. Qier, there's a new hot pot restaurant downstairs, can't you go? Shouted a colleague next to her. Next time, Qier shook her head and refused, then prepared to retreat with lightning speed. Passing by the front desk, I saw a young lady holding a bouquet of bright red roses and saying, Qier, someone has sent flowers again today. Her eyes flickered with little stars, envious. Qier is not only beautiful, but also has a top-notch figure. Her waist is tight, her chest is big, and her buttocks are perky. Often admirers bring flowers to the front desk. Such a big bouquet of flowers, I'm afraid it costs 1,000 yuan. Tang Qian was envious, as it could even be worth a few days' salary. She looked at the name above and had never heard of it before. It should be a new fan. Here you go. Qier smiled and waved her hand. Thank you, Sister Qier. Tang Qian immediately felt happy, thinking that she would find a scapegoat to sell it later, which would be another bonus. Suan scrolled through the news for a while, but when he jumped back to WeChat, Wang Teng actually came to swipe the screen. Mr. Sue, it's really off topic. Crying, I finally got my trump card. Suan clicked on the battle situation map he posted and couldn't help but laugh and cry. After 2 minutes, it landed in a box with a damage of 80. It's both delicious and tough. No, don't play the ace today, don't sleep. Mr. Sue, how fast are you driving? Waiting for you to reach the end of time, pitiful. Suan put on his headphones, went online, and immediately accepted the invitation to join the team. Master Sue, wait until all the flowers have withered. Open up, Wang Teng's excited voice came over. Suan remained silent and the two quickly entered the game. There's a kind of meeting at G-Port, not coming his grandson, Wang Teng said very much, opening the world my and shaking people. With me, Mr. Sue, I'm not at all hesitant. Grass, where did the elementary school students come from? Come on, who's afraid of who? Suan complained about the noise and directly turned off the world microphone. It's been a long time since I saw my sister in law play. Wang Teng chuckled. She's busier than us, Suan replied lightly. Wang Teng's sister in law is Lu Qier. Although he has explained it to him, this guy doesn't listen at all. Qing Mei rides a bamboo horse, perfect match. There's a drone, Mr. Sue, please move away. I rely on it for my KD. Su En's rank is God of War, ranking in the top 200 of the server. If he didn't frequently carry Wang Teng as a drag on the team, his record would have been even higher. Did the class monitor come to see you today? Wang Teng chuckled. Do you know all this? Suan was surprised. Shouldn't it be your kid who instigated it? I won't carry this pot, it's Lin Lin. Xiao Lin Lin is Ji Chanxi's current desk mate and best friend, as well as Wang Ting's partner. Have you agreed to the party? Your uncle personally spoke up. If I don't agree, I probably won't be able to skip classes anymore, Suan said with a hint of helplessness. So, did you agree? Wang Tingxing chuckled. The homeroom teacher is his uncle. I have decided to go to school on time every day in the future, Suan said slowly. Wang Ting was speechless. At least we're almost graduating. There are footsteps, be careful. In the end, the two of them played 3 consecutive games and ate chicken, and Wang Ting finally became the ace again. It's still me, Mr. Su, who is awesome. See you at school tomorrow. Wang Ting happily went offline. Outside the window, the sky had completely darkened. The lights were on next door, and you could see Miss Jenner's beloved Maserati parked in the yard. Suan thought for a moment and gave up the plan to visit. Chi-Chi must have gone to bed early. Returning to the room, Suan sat at the computer desk and focused on reviewing. He promised Mr. Su that he would definitely be admitted to university. After 2 hours, he completed 1 volume of mathematics and 1 volume of comprehensive science papers from the 3-year college entrance examination, 5-year simulation. Careless, Suan got the answer right and got 2 wrong questions. It was indeed a bit rushed. He closed his eyes and took a nap. Ding, congratulations to the host for obtaining 850 reward points today. 850, Suan was a bit surprised. The usual reward points fluctuate around 500, with a small margin of error. Is it because the class monitor is visiting? As a traveler, Su only naturally bound a system that allows the host to earn reward points every day as long as they feel happy. Suan called out the panel and smiled slightly. Today we finally broke the million mark. For 10 years, Suan was like a hard-working squirrel, slowly accumulating reward points. Now it has finally broken 1 million. Open the mall and you'll find a wide variety of products. But they are not physical objects and cannot bring out reality. There are only 2 types of goods, one is talent books and the other is skill books. My talents include playing piano, chess, calligraphy and painting, singing, dancing, shooting, cooking, gambling, medical skills, and so on. What are you hesitating about when you are only lacking in talent compared to a genius? At the top of the product, there is actually a promotional slogan, which must be said to be very tempting. But a talent that costs a full 500,000 reward points is simply off par. By this calculation, I can only exchange 2 now. It's completely unnecessary. Suan is very satisfied with his current relaxed state, becoming a genius or something, it's too tiring. Therefore, he is more inclined towards skills. Is this unlocking a new skill? Suan was pleasantly surprised. Although exchanging skills only required 100,000 reward points, so far only 2 skill books have been listed in the mall. Qi cultivation. Essential for casting spells, not without me. Shocking cicada. With a flick of the finger, in an instant, it's full of charm. A happy life is always full of twists and turns. I have the skill to kill, don't provoke me. The advertising slogan is very tempting. No one has a martial arts dream. Kill 1 person in 10 steps, leaving no trace for 1,000 miles. Therefore, Suan exchanged these 2 skill books 5 years ago. But unfortunately, the actual effect is just a buyer show and a seller show. When startled by the cicada LV1, a strong wind can only barely pierce through a piece of white paper. Are you sure you can kill someone? Suan once doubted whether this skill was used to perform magic. The only consolation is that skills can be upgraded. Now, Suan's startled cicada has reached level 5, and the combat effect is barely strong. It's not a problem to penetrate the steel plate. But as a casual player, Suan unlocked a new method. Mosquito killing, cockroach killing, and driving away evil dogs upgrading is temporarily unavailable. Surprise Cicada Level 5, Practice Qi Level 5. To level up to L6, one skill costs 500,000 yuan. To deceive people. Su-an looked at the newly emerged skills. Dream Spring and Autumn. Your dreams are under my control. When dreams are more exciting than reality, which side do you choose? End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Customized script of Chanxi. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Customized script of Chanxi. Without hesitation, Su-an directly consumed 100,000 reward points and exchanged them for Dream Spring and Autumn. Ding, congratulations to the host for obtaining a new skill. In an instant, a feeling of inexplicability surged in my heart, and at the same time, complex skill introductions were listed. Dream of Spring and Autumn, free to enter and exit the dreams of others. In my dream, I don't know if I am a guest, but I indulge in pleasure for a moment. Dreams are reality. Su-an looked at his own panel. Name. Su-an True Qi. 5000/5000, determined by the level of Qi cultivation. Skill level LV5. Shocking Cicada. Skill level LV5, I have one finger that can cut off mountains and rivers. Dream Spring and Autumn. Skill level LV1. Talent. Singing. Although he is a top student, his only talent is singing. Of course, this singing is not something Su-an exchanged for, but rather innate. Unable to wait, he decided to try his newly learned skills first, lay in bed, calm down, and soon entered a special situation. What is a dream? At this moment, his consciousness came into a colorful space, surrounded by various colored light clusters floating around. That's someone else's dream. The black ones represent nightmares, representing fear. Colorful dreams represent happiness. Blue is a sad dream. Green is a painful dream. Transparent is an extremely chaotic dream that can wake up at any time. The color of the light cluster is not fixed because dreams are constantly changing. Although the skill level is only level 1, it is sufficient to cover the entire city of Annan. Su-an was surprised by its coverage. Qier conjured up the image of the other person in his heart. This is dream locking, which can quickly locate someone's dream based on their name and appearance. Of course, a name is not mandatory. Unfortunately, there was no change around. There may be two situations where the other person is not sleeping or dreaming. Meanwhile, the neighboring building. Qier, who had just lost all her happy beans, tiptoed onto her precious daughter's bed. Qier frowned slightly and woke up in a daze. What time is it? It's only 11 o'clock, keep sleeping. Qier reached out and gently hugged the other person. Feeling the heavy pressure behind her, Qier pursed her lips and then arched forward. For a long time, a soft inquiry came from the darkness. Milk, are you still drinking? No, Qi replied softly. Can drinking milk turn you into a cow? Qier gave a casual smile. It's okay, our Qiqi is already cute enough. Besides, I'm still growing my body now. Qier closed her eyes and ignored the other person. But involuntarily, the girl I saw during the day today, named Chanxi, came to mind. Actually, I don't want to be like my mother, but at least I can't lose to her. The lights in the villa area gradually disappeared, but the urban village 10 kilometers away was still bustling. Nightlife has just begun. Chanxi and his family rent on the top floor, with 2 bedrooms and 1 living room, for a monthly rent of 2,800 yuan, with additional charges for water and electricity. Although the top floor has good lighting and no obstruction, climbing the 7th floor every day is definitely not an easy task. The most frustrating thing about Chanxi is that the farmer's house is completely uninsulated, and the top floor is like an oven. It's only April now, and summer is the most terrifying time. The air conditioning must never be turned off. But the electricity bills in urban villages are outrageously expensive. Chanxi knows about the financial situation at home, so if it's not really unbearable, she will choose to prioritize turning on the electric fan. Buzzing, the fan has been turned on to third gear. A corner of the light and thin white pajama was lifted, revealing the smooth and delicate skin inside. The old fan was very noisy, but she had already gotten used to it. The girl's room was decorated very elegantly, with a neat desk and a bowl of pink meat on the table. This succulent was given by Suan on Chanxi's birthday last year. I thought he didn't know, but I didn't expect to give myself a small surprise. She has always been careful and nurturing. On the wall opposite the bed, there is a beautiful poster titled, "Your Name." It's already 11 o'clock, and Chanxi is ready to go to bed. I have accumulated a total of 800,000 points. Happy closing her eyes, Chanxi prepared to reward herself. Thinking of her daytime experiences and the stingy Suan, the girl's mouth curved beautifully. So today, exchange it for a beautiful dream. Host redemption successful. Please provide key materials. Female warrior, servant Suan, successfully defeated the dragon. Chanxi blushed shyly. This is a hidden corner that cannot be known by anyone. Anyway, it's a dream that belongs only to her. Dreams are being generated. Chanxi closed his eyes and his mood slowly calmed down. The dream woven by the system is very realistic, and she could have chosen to provide more detailed details. But considering the fun, she prefers to provide keywords and let the system freely play the rest. Soon, Chanxi's consciousness gradually became void. The next second, a vast and boundless world appeared before her. The sky is deep blue, with a gentle breeze. Chanxi knew it was in a dream, but the surroundings were so real, with the touch of the wind, the fragrance in the air, and the warmth of the sunlight falling on him. All of this is exactly the same as the reality. Although it's not my first time dreaming, Chanxi still couldn't help but be shocked. At this moment, she is wearing a black magic robe, a purple magic hat on her head, holding a wand inlaid with red gemstones, and riding a very handsome tall horse under her hips. Her identity is undoubtedly the most powerful wizard in this continent. Your esteemed master, the big mountain ahead is now the nest of the evil dragon. A trembling, slightly frightened, familiar voice came, and the girl took the opportunity to look. The speaker was holding a horse rope, dressed in a black strong suit, and dressed very simply. It was Suan. Are you afraid? Chanxi suppressed a smile and asked with a cold expression. Let you bully me during the day. Suan collapsed his face and dared not face the dignity of his master. Your esteemed master, that is the most terrifying existence on the continent of Akram. The legendary polar dragon, controlling darkness and flames. Chanxi raised her wand in her hand, her eyes filled with confidence, and she said calmly, "It will die under my magic of light." Suan's legs trembled slightly. As a servant, he had no magic and was like cannon fodder, naturally fearful. Respected master, perhaps we can unite with other forces to jointly fight against the evil dragon. The Grand Knight of the Holy City, the elves of the Fairy Forest, the dwarves of the Lava City. I can do it alone. Chanxi interrupted the servant's dissuasion, lifting her scepter in her hand with a lively expression. The light will protect you, and God's grace will bless you. Forbidden magic, the guardian of the God of light. The girl waved her scepter, and a holy radiance descended from the sky, instantly enveloping Suan. Thank you, esteemed master. The servant Suan, who received shelter, was extremely excited. He lay on the ground, feeling an indescribable joy. At the same time, in the void, an invisible consciousness witnessed all of this, and it was Suan who had invaded the dream. Class monitor, it's too much. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Dream Interference. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Dream Interference. Suan was unable to roar. His level of dream spring and autumn is too low, and invading the dream can only act as a spectator and cannot interfere. Your esteemed master, your reputation will shine throughout the entire continent of Akron. The only dark dragon must be buried under the light. Respected master, you. Servant Su Anji flattered. Chanxi rode a fine horse, with a smile on her eyes and eyebrows, enjoying the compliments of her servants. No, it should be a compliment from Suan. The girl's face turned slightly red and she was full of fighting spirit. She was eager to beat up the dark dragon. Void, Suan has nothing to say. Could it be that in the class monitor's mind, he actually has such an image? It shouldn't be. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. With grief and anger, Suan withdrew from his dream. System, upgrade, dream of spring and autumn skills. A cold voice immediately replied, upgrading will consume 200,000 reward points. Please confirm with the host whether to upgrade. Wait, Suan was surprised and almost petrified on the spot. 200,000. It's simply outrageous. Learning this skill is only 100,000 points. In fact, there is a preview of the points consumed in the skill introduction, but Suan was misled by habitual thinking because upgrading the first two skills did not consume such exaggerated points. Raising both Qi cultivation and startled cicada to L5 cost only 500,000 yuan in total. Did you make a mistake? Suan quickly asked. Please confirm with the host whether to upgrade your skills, the system repeated coldly. Is there a discount available? Suan sighed. Please confirm with the host whether to upgrade your skills, the system repeated coldly again. Begging to be uninteresting. He hesitated whether to rise or not. According to the system rules, at the current skill level, you can preview the effect of the next skill level. The Dream Spring and Autumn LV2 only expands the coverage of dreams and is lackluster. He has no interest in prying into everyone's dreams. We can only look forward to future skill growth, Suan thought of the startled cicada. At first, it was just a chicken rib, only able to pierce through white paper, but now it is deadly enough. The biggest difference between the two lies in the number of points spent on upgrading. There is a slight risk involved. Confirm upgrade, Suan no longer hesitates. Ding, congratulations to the host for unlocking Dream Spring and Autumn L2, the next second, when he saw the introduction of L3's skills, Suan smiled heartily. Once you reach L3, you can interfere with your dreams. But to upgrade, you need to consume a full 400,000 reward points. Suan was taken aback. If stacked at such a multiple, the subsequent skill cost would be sky-high. After hesitating for a moment, he still chose to upgrade. After all, without upgrading, the current skill effect of Dream Spring and Autumn is nothing but chicken ribs. Please confirm with the host whether to upgrade. Confirm upgrade. After a moment, Suan returned to the dream space, and at this moment, its scope had expanded more than 1,000 times, enough to cover the entire summer. Everyone's dreams are left to him to glimpse. Looking around, dreamy light clusters formed an endless sea. Ji-chan Creek, Su-en's heart once again revealed the other person's appearance. Quickly, a colorful light and shadow swept up in front of him. How could the monitor's dream be so stable? Suan was somewhat surprised. Usually, most people's dreams are intermittent and transparent. He specifically went to see Wang Teng, but after staying for a while, his dream shattered. Akron Continent. Chanxi has arrived at the foot of the mountain. It's cold and humid here, filled with invisible mist everywhere, and the sunlight can't shine in at all. A group of skeleton soldiers blocked in front. The skeleton led by him is a huge body, measuring 3 meters in length. He is dressed in thick metal armor and holds a bone knife. In his hollow eyes, 2 flickering ghostly flames flicker. Respected master, let these humble races see the power of light, praised servant Suan. But the next second, his figure trembled, and his originally hunched figure instantly stood straight. Suan interfered with the dream and directly replaced his own character in the dream. Above the galloping horse, Ji Chanxi did not notice this subtle change. The skeleton soldiers raised their swords to kill. God said there must be light, and the world will have light, the girl calmly recited magic in a soft voice. In an instant, a dazzling light surged out of the wand. A group of weak skeleton soldiers instantly melted, even the most powerful skeleton king could not bear it. The huge figure collapsed with a loud crash 5 steps away. Suan smiled at the corner of his mouth. I didn't expect the class monitor's dream to be so interesting and real. Your esteemed master, you are really amazing, he praised, imitating his previous tone. Chanxi felt both shy and happy in his heart. The area ahead is the territory of the Cyclops, don't be careless, she said with a broken face. Soon, the two of them arrived halfway up the mountain. A giant object standing 10 meters tall, holding a wolf-toothed stick, is guarding the necessary path. The wrath of the god of light, Chanxi's expression was solemn, and he recited his prayers again. A lightsaber directly cut off the head of the Cyclops. There is an absolute power gap, and no one can stop the footsteps of the great wizard. Suan finally understood. Originally, the class monitor followed a path of crushing the enemy with one move. Anyway, as long as it feels good. Subsequently, they encountered the swamp snake, and similarly, the terrifying and ferocious monster could not escape the bright magic of Chan Creek. In the end, the two arrived at the top of the mountain. From afar, Suan saw a figure the size of a mountain, with huge eyes resembling a sun and moon. Even though I knew it was a dream, I was still deeply moved by this scene. Because dreams are so real. The polar dragon, the legendary Dark King, is the hegemon who controls darkness and flames. Where are the ants from? How dare they invade my king's territory? The grand sound exploded like thunder. Destroy the city, burn the dragon of the village, I, the most powerful wizard of Akram, will put an end to your evil deeds. Chan Creek has a peaceful expression, and the holy breath is surging. The polar dragon felt a threat and opened its huge mouth, revealing a terrifying flame brewing within it. This is the final battle. Win or lose with one strike. Chanxi has the winning ticket in her hands. Although it is vulgar, she really likes it. She has played this dream and scene no less than 10 times. Although there may be slight differences each time, the main storyline remains unchanged. I saw her figure rise out of thin air, floating in mid-air. Great God of light, darkness has descended. Please grant me the power to cut through the darkness. In an instant, the mist dissipated and light descended upon the world. At the top of the clouds, a majestic light and shadow slashed out a sword. Almost at the same time, the polar dragon also completed the skill preparation, and a towering flame roared out. Roaming, fire and light collided fiercely, the mountains shook, and only red and white remained in the sky and earth. A strange smile appeared at the corner of Suan's mouth, indicating that it was time for him to take action. In the fierce wind, Chanxi's black hair fluttered, her expression calm and full of confidence. According to the script, the light will extinguish the flames and slay the evil dragon with a destructive force. However, when everything returns to tranquility. The girl looked not far away, as if she had fallen into a frenzy, as if she were a polar dragon, lost in thought. It is actually still alive. Is there a bug in the system? End of this chapter. Chapter 6. The Person of Intention. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. The Person of Intention. Chanxi panicked. The script is clearly not unfolded in this way. But soon, the girl calmed down. After all, she had played the magic script many times. Servants of the light, humble ants, you have successfully angered my king. The polar dragon roared and roared, waving its huge wings and flying sand and rocks for a moment. Its massive figure, like a mountain, gradually rose into the air. One person and one dragon confronted each other in the air. Dark Eternal, the Kingdom of Light, both of them simultaneously cast forbidden magic. In an instant, black and white, light and darkness converged at the center of the battlefield, and the two forces rose and fell. One moment the darkness erodes the light, and another the light drives out the darkness. After a brief confrontation, one person and one dragon were simultaneously shattered by this terrifying force. But they didn't take a breath for a moment, and the forbidden magic of destroying the sky and earth kept being unleashed. One person, one dragon cannot determine the winner. Because it's a dream, I don't feel pain or fatigue, but this stalemate goes against the script of crushing flow and exceeds expectations. Chanxi frowned slightly. In an instant, the dream world showed a slight distortion and signs of collapse. People tend to seek benefits and avoid harm. When encountering danger, one will instinctively want to avoid it. Suan knows he can't wait any longer. "Master, be careful," he shouted and shook himself. In an instant, a golden armor covered his entire body. He held a huge shield in his left hand and a golden broadsword in his right hand, soaring into the sky. Suddenly, the black and white colors were separated again. Chanxi looked at it and saw a majestic figure rushing towards the black dragon. The huge eyes of the polar dragon flashed with a hint of fear, and it could feel the terrifying oppression brought by the sudden appearance of humans in front of it. Suan. Chanxi's heart skipped a beat. She suddenly remembered a line. "One day, my crush will come to marry me, wearing a golden armor and holy robe," and stepping on the colorful auspicious clouds she stared blankly at the golden paladin in front of her. Her dream, which was about to collapse, had actually stabilized. "I have a showdown, actually, I come from the holy city." Suan looked solemn and found himself a suitable identity. Chanxi widened his eyes, wondering if the system had opened a hidden script. Fire God Domain, Eternal Darkness, the polar dragon is no longer retained and surprisingly uses two forbidden spells simultaneously. Suan's shield blocked horizontally, and almost at the same time, a terrifying force killed him. Suddenly, he was pushed back 2 steps, but with him as the boundary, the power of darkness and flames was forcefully blocked. "Right now," Suan exclaimed. Chanxi suddenly woke up. Now is not the time for wild thoughts. Her expression is solemn, and her holy breath falls from the sky. God said that the world is finally dark and begins with light. As the girl recited, the dazzling beam broke through the mist and dispersed the darkness. In an instant, the polar dragon felt the terrifying aura from above the clouds. It panicked and prepared to resist with forbidden magic. But Suan couldn't give it a chance and rushed forward with the golden holy sword in hand. The giant shield forms an absolute defense, and the golden broadsword contains immense power, making it difficult for the extreme dragon to escape. When the world falls into eternal darkness, God will descend upon the world. Chanxi completed his final chant. In an instant, both heaven and earth were shrouded in dazzling radiance. A majestic figure fell from the clouds, with 12 pairs of sacred wings behind it. The taboo power belonging to God submerged the entire mountain. In an instant, the entire mountain top was flattened. Without any suspense, the figure of the polar dragon was instantly torn apart, while Suan remained motionless. This is a dream, and he is invincible as he can change the rules. The brave ultimately defeated the dragon. Chanxi looked at the only figure in the battlefield, his small heart beating uncontrollably. Undoubtedly, this is a wonderful experience that has never been experienced before. At this moment, if Suan returns to the dreamy space, he can see the colorful dreams of Chan Creek, which are extremely brilliant. Suan turned around and looked at the girl wearing a black magic robe, with a strange smile on her lips. He flew over and swept in front of the opponent. The next second, in the surprised gaze of Chanxi, he picked it up from his waist. Pa! A slap hit the other person's buttocks. "Your esteemed master." But before Suan could finish speaking, the dream world shattered with a loud bang. The next second, he returned directly to the dreamy space. Suan was confused and didn't expect the class monitor's reaction to be so strong. "It's just a dream." who made her shape herself into a flattering servant. Suan found a very reasonable excuse for herself. Ding, congratulations to the host for receiving the dreamer's gift, with 5,000 happiness points. The mechanical sound of the system is heard. Suan was surprised, but soon realized. No wonder the skills of Dream Spring and Autumn are so expensive. It turns out that rewards can be obtained through dreams. 5,000, this value is already exaggerated enough, several times the daily settlement reward. Undoubtedly, this is a quick way to earn reward points. But he wasn't too excited because Suan was very satisfied with his current state and didn't want to be bound by reward points. Even for 10 years, he did not deliberately study how to maximize the reward points. After all, salted fish is also a kind of happiness. But you can give it a try. Suan is more curious and wants to verify some hypotheses. Wang Teng, the next second, he found Wang Teng's dream. At this moment it was already 1 o'clock in the morning, and although this guy slept late, he had already fallen asleep. It's just that his dreams are very chaotic. Mr. Su, you're too bad. Look at me. In his dream, Wang Teng killed all directions and successfully defeated the team. But the next second, the surroundings changed and we arrived at the school. Good morning, Lin Lin. I saw a petite girl tilting her head to look at him, and Wang Teng immediately chuckled foolishly. Then the scene transforms accordingly. But this time it was even more chaotic. At first, I was eating chicken, the next second I was in the exam room, and then I went back to ancient times. Suan tried to intervene in order to continue his dream of playing the chicken-eating game, but failed. The dreams of LV3 stage are not enough to achieve this. Interference has limitations. He can invade Wang Teng's dream, disguise himself as an enemy, or play the role of a pig teammate, but he cannot switch the game scene to the college entrance examination room. Only allow the dreamer to drift with the flow. It seems necessary to upgrade LV4. Suan has reviewed the skill introduction for the next level and attributed it to one sentence. Controlling dreams, which can be described as a qualitative change. Control is far stronger than interference. However, the nearly 80,000 reward points are daunting. You should know that Suan only saved 1 million reward points in 10 years, and tonight he spent a whopping 70,000. The remaining reward points are only 305,500. How can the system obtain gifts from dreamers? Su Anshuan asked. Please allow the host to explore on their own. Arrogant and indifferent Suan speculates that it is mostly related to the emotions of the dreamer, such as joy, happiness, and so on. But it can be confirmed that not all dreams can receive rewards. For example, in Wang Teng's dream just now, Suan did not receive even a small gift. Most importantly, it also consumed 200 points of true Qi for this. The gains outweigh the losses. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Gifts from Dreamers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Gifts from Dreamers. A dreamy space, with countless fleeting clusters of light. Suan randomly selected a black dream. Black represents nightmares. In the dark streets, there was no one, and the shops on both sides were all tightly closed. A man ran out of the corner in panic, followed closely by an eerie black shadow. The man ran very fast and almost fell several times. The immense fear made it difficult for him to breathe, and cold sweat had already soaked his back. But Li Yi dare not stop. Keep running, yet the street seems to have no end. Suddenly, he turned back abruptly and his liver and gallbladder split. I saw the zombie wearing Qing dynasty clothing getting closer and closer to me, with a lifeless, thin and cold ghost face clearly visible. Li Yi almost collapsed. He wanted to shout for help, but couldn't make a sound. The immense fear made him want to pretend to be dead. So Li Yi stopped running and closed his eyes straight away. Time seemed to have come to a standstill, and he could feel the zombie by his side. Can't see me, can't see me. At this moment, a blurry sound came into my ears. What are you afraid of? Duh. The huge roar immediately opened Li Yi's eyes, and the scene that appeared before him left him stunned. I saw a strange young man, who appeared by my side at some point. The golden gatling in his hand was wildly swallowing flames. Duh. The terrifying force forcefully suppressed the zombie's constant retreat. This Li Yi was dumbfounded. The boy nodded at him and then handed the golden gatling in his hand. Try it out. Li Yi took it in a daze, and the next second, he pulled the trigger hard. The dazzling flames surged wildly. Duh. An endless stream of bullets poured out. Although the zombie was not torn apart, it was difficult to approach under Gatling's crazy suppression. Ha, let you scare me, come on. The next second, Li Yi suddenly woke up. The dream shattered. Ha, on the bed, Li Yi's smile did not fade away, and he had never had such a beautiful dream for a long time. Because he watched a horror movie during the day, he was so scared that he had nightmares at night. Indeed, fear often stems from insufficient firepower, Li Yi continued to ponder. Dream space, Suan once again received a gift from the dreamer, but only 500 points. Although compared to the daily settlement rewards, they are not too few, but compared to the class monitor, they are simply not in the same level. And this dream consumed 300 true Qi points. Transforming nightmares into beautiful dreams can earn rewards. The true Qi value consumed each time is not fixed, and the longer the invasion time, the greater the consumption. Ordinary people's dreams are too short and easy to wake up, Suan came to some conclusions. For example, in the dream just now, before he could even pull out the rocket, the dream came to an end. It's quite interesting. Suan withdrew from the dream space. He didn't choose to finish brushing his true Qi value, but lazily fell asleep. If he turns his interest into a task, the fun will no longer exist. April 20th, Wednesday, sunny. Suan rarely wakes up naturally and hasn't been to school for a long time. It's really a bit uncomfortable. High school seniors need to self-study early. After checking the time, it's obvious that they won't be able to catch up. Chi, are you ready? Suan pushed his bike and shouted at the door. After a moment, drowsy-eyed Qier walked out of the room, yawned proficiently, and jumped onto the back seat of her bicycle. This seat is her exclusive seat. Have you eaten it yet? Do you expect Chanxi to wake up early? Sit still, Suan smiled. At this moment, Chanxi lazily rolled over, her fair and tender skin faintly visible. The most comfortable thing in life is to have a good sleep. The distance from the Golden Mansion community to the school is not far, and it takes up to 10 minutes to ride a bicycle. It is a safe and high-quality school district house. Ivy League High School is one of the 4 prestigious universities in Annan City, with a consistently high undergraduate admission rate of over 99%. In a sense, being admitted to an Ivy League is equivalent to being admitted to a university. But as a super first-tier city with a population of nearly 20 million, it is not easy to enter an Ivy League high school. On the roadside, the mango trees used for ornamental purposes have already produced green fruits. Qier pressed her face against Suan's back and wrapped her hand around him. She could even clearly smell the scent of laundry detergent residue on her clothes, which was the scent of lemon. Didn't sleep well. Suan thought she hadn't slept enough. Qier nodded lightly and closed her eyes. 5 minutes later, a lush garden appeared in sight, with several bright red teaching buildings faintly visible. What do you want to eat? Suan stopped the car. Intestine noodles, Qier said lightly. Suan went to the roadside stall and bought a portion. It was already very close to the school gate, and there were more students passing by. Many people intentionally or unintentionally looked towards this side. Qier didn't like to be the center of attention. She took the breakfast handed over by Suan and whispered, "Brother Suan, I'm leaving first." Suan returned to the noodle stand and had a meal on site before leisurely entering the campus. Class 3, Grade 3. The first class is about to start because the teacher hasn't arrived yet and the classroom is a bit noisy. But the next second, the atmosphere suddenly quieted down, and everyone looked at the door together. A figure quickly walked in. It's Suan. Why did he come? Has he recovered from his illness? Tong Tong, if you don't confess, you won't have a chance. Mr. Su, long time no see. In the last row, a tall boy laughed and shouted, it was Wang Teng. At this moment, his right seat is empty, and in front of him are Chanxi and Xiao Linlin. At this moment, they also noticed Su An's arrival, but their reactions were vastly different. Oh, how do I think Su An is a bit more handsome? Xiao Linlin tied a long ponytail, belonging to the cute type. Chanxi smiled shyly and then quickly lowered his head. Yesterday's dream made her both anxious and embarrassed, and she woke up on the spot. The system was a bit excessive. Suan nodded at the three people and then sat down. Xiao Linlin saw her best friend still being serious and reached out a hand under her seat, pinching her long leg. Chanxi quickly clapped her hand away. Suan, how many days are you planning to attend class this time? Xiao Linlin turned around and asked with a smile. Mr. Su said something, I will attend classes on time in the future, Wang Ting quickly replied. Really? Xiao Linlin exclaimed in surprise, and Chanxi sat upright, raising her ears. Well, after all, the college entrance examination is coming soon. Suan nodded and then turned his gaze to the girl in front of him. I saw the class monitor wearing a blue and white school uniform, with long hair tied into 2 braids, very cute. The admiration value from Suan +3, Chanxi let out a soft groan in his heart and continued to lower his head to read. Isn't it every day after that? Xiao Linlin pushed the girl who was pretending to be a saint with her elbow. Tell you something particularly interesting, Su Anding calmed down and paused solemnly for a moment. Hurry up, Wang Teng is an impatient person. I had a particularly strange dream yesterday. Suan said with a suppressed smile. Dream? Chanxi suddenly trembled like a frightened rabbit. What dream? Xiao Linlin asked curiously. Chanxi suddenly raised his ears and his face had turned slightly red. Ring. At this moment, the class bell rang out of place. Let's talk after class, Suan solemnly flipped through his textbook. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Mandatory Tasks of Chanxi. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Mandatory Tasks of Chanxi. The first and second classes are all about mathematics. As the class bell rang, the classroom gradually quieted down. On the podium, Liang Xiao supported the mirror frame and looked in surprise at the seat that was supposed to be empty. Coming, he said with a hint of teasing. Suan smiled awkwardly and then opened the textbook. In this class, let's talk about yesterday's exam paper. Liang Xiaoqing cleared her throat. Approaching the college entrance examination, all the knowledge points have been reviewed back and forth 3 times now. Therefore, in class, either take an exam or present the test paper. Mr. Su, this question is a bit difficult. I made several mistakes. Wang Ting moved his paper between the two of them. 135 out of 150. Suan ignored his Versailles. Wang Ting's grades rank in the top 50 of his grade, so it is inevitable that he will be admitted to the top tier. But by comparison, Xiao Linlin was a bit behind, with her scores on several bottom-line exams barely hovering around the top tier. At this moment, Chanxi had no intention of listening to the class and stared at the exam paper in a daze. Suan suddenly mentioned dreaming, which made her restless. Of course, she only felt a coincidence and did not associate it with her. Yesterday's dream was actually very good, more exciting than before. The ending is a bit scary. My world-renowned hero, Chanxi reminisces about the scenes in his dream, his lips unconsciously rising. How about changing to this script next time? In fact, she doesn't exchange dreams frequently, at least once a week. The vast majority of reward points have been accumulated, and Chanxi is a bit reluctant to use them. At this moment, Suan was propping up his chin, equally absent-minded, wandering around aimlessly. In his past life, he had thought countless times while working overtime that it would be great if he could dream back to high school. At that moment, it was like a dream of yellow sorghum. The first class has finally come to an end. Chanxi was the first to turn around, and Wang Teng and Su Anqi looked at her in surprise. When the girl realized something was wrong, her face immediately turned red with embarrassment. She quickly pulled on her best friend. "Hurry up and talk about your dream." Xiao Linlin smiled and stood up to break free. Cicada Creek was like this, with a thin face. "Mr. Su, don't play tricks," Wang Ting shouted. The young couple sang and reconciled. Suan let out a dry cough, cleared his throat, and said, "I dreamt of going to another world. The divine realm. The capital of the great emperor, Wang Tingdao." "Don't interrupt," Xiao Linglin glared at him. Chanxi thought of the continent of Akram. Suan looked at the three of them and said sternly, "That's a parallel world exactly like ours. But it's not like you guys. I spent a long, long time there, from birth to adulthood, so long that I couldn't distinguish. I dreamt that I was admitted to Tsinghua and Peking University, and after entering society, I have been working hard." Finally. Suan paused with a strange expression. What happened in the end? Chanxi couldn't help but be curious. "I died suddenly while working overtime, and then woke up." Suan felt a moment of confusion. Zhuangxing Mengdai, Daimeng Zhuangxing, has been in this world for 10 years and has completely integrated into it. The past life was like the clouds and smoke of the past, but when I think about it now, all I can do is sigh. Now, taking the opportunity to speak out through dreams, the last bit of a knot in my heart dissipates invisibly. Xiao Linlin couldn't help but laugh, and Wang Teng was even more exaggerated, dancing and dancing. Although Chanxi suppressed his smile, he turned red from holding it back. Suan smiled at the reaction of his friends and didn't say much. "Is this your reason for salting fish?" Xiao Linlin joked. "It's true," Suan didn't refute. He asked in response, "So what dream did you have yesterday?" He couldn't help but look at the class monitor. Hee. She was very excessive last night. Suddenly, Chanxi panicked. She averted her gaze and dared not look at others, shaking her head at the first moment. This shows that there is no silver of 300 taels in this place. Class monitor, tell me quickly. What did you dream of? Wang Teng immediately challenged. I didn't dream. Chanxi pretended to be calm, but she wouldn't lie and looked very nervous. I know now, I must have dreamed of Mr. Su, Wang Ting suddenly realized. No, Chanxi became anxious and quickly turned around, ignoring the two of them. I owe you a beating, right? Xiao Linlin patted Wang Ting's shoulder. Joking, the latter immediately hesitated. Su Anqiang suppressed a smile and took the initiative to change the topic, so as not to make the class monitor really angry. He asked, how was the party going? Upon hearing this, Chanxi turned around again and asked with some anticipation, are you going? Suan shook his head. Chanxi suddenly deflated. I heard Linlin say, can you dance? He asked. The girl immediately looked dissatisfied at her best friend. Dizzy, who said it? I didn't say it, Xiao Linlin denied and glared fiercely at someone. Suan admits that he really wants to watch Chanxi dance. The last two classes in the afternoon were Chinese. After class, the homeroom teacher Wang Zhe called out to the office. Wang Zhe's hair was a bit bald. He held a thermos and took a sip of goji berry and chrysanthemum tea inside, helplessly saying, Suan, why don't you want to go? If you win a prize, there can be a small reward of several thousand yuan. Suan waved his hand, indeed not wanting to get involved in such a troublesome matter. Next to him, Chanxi was making soy sauce, and suddenly his face became extremely ugly. Goddesses should shine brightly. Please complete the task of performing with Suan on stage at the evening party. Completing tasks will earn a reward of 50,000 points, and failure will result in 10 times the deduction. The mechanical sound of the system is heard. How could this be? The girl crossed her fingers and gritted her teeth tightly, feeling both angry and anxious. She had accumulated 80,000 points for 6 months, and the consequences of her failure were unacceptable to Chanxi. However, at this moment, Wang Zhe and Suan are still staring big and small, both hoping for compromise from the other party. I have an idea, a timid voice broke the awkward atmosphere. Chanxi took a deep breath, her fair face rosy as if drunk. She mustered the courage to say, how about I call Lin again and then add Suan, the three of us together. Suan looked surprised and asked, chorus. Chanxi lowered his head slightly, looked away from the other person, and whispered, you sing, we dance. Her face blushed as if dripping water. Even before, I made a solemn promise that I wouldn't dance. Now, what will he think of himself? Sure, Suan agreed without any hesitation, while looking at the girl with a smile on his lips. As if saying it again, now it's up to you where to escape. Feeling the scorching gaze of the other person, Chanxi felt as if her heart was about to stop beating. The teacher is right next to him, how could he do this? That settled, Wang Zhe agreed and was very satisfied with the result. Chanxi is very popular among students, and with her presence, the program is definitely very popular. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. The plum blossom will lose to the heavenly descent. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. The plum blossom will lose to the heavenly descent. There are 2 evening self-study classes in the evening, and you can rest for an hour after meals. As soon as he returned to the classroom, Chanxi ran away as if fleeing. Mr. Su, play basketball. Wang Teng is tall and imposing, and is a key player in the school basketball team. Suan shook his head, showing no interest. With his skill level of LV5 in Qi training, his physical fitness has already surpassed that of ordinary people, and he is very confident in shooting at the half-court line. It's pointless to start hanging and abusing dishes. Wang Ting felt 100 million points of disdain from the other person's expression and raised his middle finger. The two of them had played privately before, and at his height of 1.85 meters, he was easily blocked by the other person, which shocked him for a whole day. From then on, he called Suan Suyi, and Wang Ting felt like he was holding a super thigh. Although Suan was not interested in playing basketball, he still followed him to the sports field. At this moment, there are many people on the court. Suddenly, he saw a familiar figure from afar, with silver hair and snow. It was Qier, and there was a girl next to her. Suan walked over directly. Chi, Sun Li, he greeted with a smile. Sun Li is Qier's roommate and super fan. Qier nodded. Long time no see, Sun Li was lively, with a childish expression on her face. Have you gained weight recently? Suan frowned and looked at her. Is there? Sun Li was so scared that she quickly touched her belly. Not at all. Later, she realized that she had been played with and was not angry either. Instead, she reached out to block her chest and said discontentedly, "Are you pointing here? Chi, your brother is dead." Suan was speechless. Qier said expressionlessly, "There's really no fat there." Sun Li spat out. Both of them are a pair of A, and no one can look down on them. Hee, you guys talk, I'm not the light bulb. She showed a knowing expression and ran away happily. How have things been with novels lately? Suan opened the topic first. Aren't you the deputy moderator? Qier glanced at him. Suan awkwardly scratched his head. Chi wrote about female frequency, and the whole article is about pursuing his wife at the crematorium. How could he be interested? Done, Qier snorted. When? The day before yesterday, Suan sneered and said, I'll go back and take a look. Qier glanced at him expressionlessly and gave him a self-understanding look. Has a murderous aura. Why don't we go to the beach to play on the weekend? Suan felt guilty. A while ago, Sister Gina also said she wanted to go, but later she forgot. I'll be stuck in traffic, Qier shook her head. Suan thought for a moment and agreed. The population explosion in Annan City leads to a frenzy of souls rushing towards surrounding cities every weekend, which directly leads to long queues of people leaving the city. Then go ice skating. Sure, it's perfect to accompany me to buy something. That's settled then. Don't rush to write the new book, take a good rest for a while. Suan was worried that she might be too tired. Qier nodded. She simply likes writing, earning money is just a side effect, after all, the little rich lady of Gina's family is not a big deal. Meanwhile, Chanxi and Xiao Linlin are taking a walk. The girl remained worried from beginning to end. The appearance of the campus flower attracted the attention of everyone on the field. The admiration from Zhao Yang plus 80, from Lu Jian's admiration plus 100, from Lu Yifan's admiration plus 100, from Wang Yifan's admiration plus 60, the charm of a goddess is unstoppable. Many times, Chanxi doesn't need to deliberately earn admiration points. Just like this, taking a walk every day can earn a considerable income. At this moment, Chanxi is still facing mandatory tasks released by the worry system. Actually, upon careful consideration, there is nothing wrong with performing on stage, as one can complete the system's tasks while also gaining a lot of admiration while performing. Most importantly, Suan has also come on stage. What's there to worry about? It's just a casual twist. Our Zen Creek is so cute, it must have captivated a large area. Chanxi pursed her lips and spoke lightly, but ultimately, it was she who dragged her friend into the water. In order to apologize, during dinner, Chanxi willingly was brutally slaughtered by the other party. Allah, Allah. Look, is that Suan? Xiao Linlin suddenly pointed to the big elm tree not far away. The big tree is lush with branches and leaves, and there are two people standing under it, looking very close and having an extraordinary relationship. Chanxi was stunned and remained silent. That's Qier, right? From a distance, the silver-haired girl looked like a princess walking out of a fairy tale, cold and aloof, with an extraordinary temperament. If it weren't for her small chest, her beauty might have really overshadowed Cicada Creek, and Xiao Linlin couldn't help but worry about her best friend. Although they were childhood sweethearts, Lu Sun once said, Qing Mei will definitely lose to Tianjiang, Xiao Linlin said with a serious tone. Chanxi's face turned red, there was no such thing as wanting to leave. What are you running for? Let's go over and say hello, Xiao Linlin cried foolishly. Fear before battle is a great taboo among soldiers. No need, Chanxi quickly shook his head and refused. Qier is not a mother tiger, can she still eat you? Let's first think about the performance, Chanxi said, pulling his best friend in the opposite direction. Xiao Linlin has been defeated in the battle. If you lose in the future, don't blame Lu Sun for talking nonsense. In the evening self-study, the classroom was particularly quiet, with only the sound of flipping pages. Xiao Linlin took out her phone, and Ivy League High School did not explicitly prohibit the carrying of electronic products. She quickly gathered Suan and Chanxi to form a small group. What song and dance do the two classmates plan to sing? I didn't plan it out. What kind of dance can you dance? Suan happened to be scrolling through his phone. He had just finished reading Chi-Chi's final statement. I won't be able to learn, Cicada Creek dancing is so beautiful, pure and lustful. Color, Xiao Linlin vigorously promotes. She clicked on the album and selected a short video to send out, which was secretly taken. The cover picture of the video is exactly Chanxi, and in the picture, she is tied up in two cute braids, wearing a set of beige short skirts, with a shy face. Suan was startled and couldn't wait to open it. The admiration value from Suan plus 100. Chanxi was listening to an English cassette tape when she suddenly turned around in disbelief and saw the former brushing his phone. But due to the angle, she couldn't see the screen. The video content is very short, and Suan quickly watched it twice. Xiao Linlin is not deceiving me, and the class monitor's dance is really beautiful. In the video, although the girl's movements are simple, unfamiliar, and far from professional life, being cute is enough. Suan silently saved the video locally and replied, "Class monitor, I will be your fan from now on." Xiao Linlin giggled. Chanxi finally realized something was wrong and clicked on WeChat. Linlin, quickly withdraw, she lowered her voice and hurriedly went to grab the other person's phone. Xiao Linlin tried her best to avoid. I bet Suan must have saved the video just now, and it's useless to retract it. Unfortunately, Suan quietly put his phone back in the drawer. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Grinding Fairy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Grinding Fairy. It's already 10 o'clock when I returned from school. After taking a shower, he walked out of the bathroom and suddenly froze, only to see a phantom sitting at the head of his bed. This is a very beautiful woman. She was wearing a light blue short skirt, revealing her fair shoulders and charming feet. Her tight waist perfectly combined with the heavy curves. The woman's eyebrows and eyes slightly raised, with a tear mole next to her. Her watery big eyes were clear and flawless. "Gina, why did you come?" Suan suddenly remembered wrapping his lower body in the towel in his hand. "The person who came is Gina, she has the key to the villa." "Zaya doubting, it's not that you haven't seen it before," said the other person with disdain. Suan's face was a bit ugly, hesitating whether to teach her the basic knowledge of heat expansion and contraction. Just now, he just took a cold shower. When Suan changed his clothes, he saw the other person changing positions and lazily lying on the bed. Looking from the side, the curve was still breathtaking. "Robbing landlords, I snatch, don't grab," Gina pouted. She had a rare chance of winning a good card, but was robbed of the landlord by her subordinates. The most infuriating thing is that the other party's beans are only 2,000, clearly showing signs of chaos and looting. Even if she wins, after deducting the room fee, she is estimated to only receive a few hundred beans. "Where did you go today?" Gina asked without looking back when she heard the commotion behind her. "School." Suan sat down, legs resting on the edge of the bed. "What are you doing at school?" She was a bit puzzled. Suan is speechless. Since the death of Mr. Su, Gina has become his nominal guardian, but it seems that the other party has no awareness in this regard. "Go to school," he shook his head. Gina got up from the bed, widened her eyes, and looked suspicious. "Has the sun come out from the west?" "It's already past 10 o'clock, Suan suggested to the other party to hurry back. "I'm sleeping here today." Gina lay down on the bed and played a prank. "Then I'll go next door." Suan stood up and prepared to leave. "No," Gina stood up abruptly and hugged a bear from behind. The two of them were already dressed thinly, and Gina's figure was too domineering. In addition, her hair was tickling, making Suan a bit overwhelmed and surrendering. "I'll lay the floor, this is quite similar." Gina proudly let go of her hand. Suan was very skilled beside him, laying out a cold mat, feeling tired. "Turn off the lights. Suan is going to bed and has to wake up early tomorrow." "Are you asleep?" In the darkness, Gina turned over and reached out a foot under the bed, rubbing someone's face. Suan pressed it down, and Gina stirred it vigorously. "Am I going to bite?" Suan was angry. "Don't lick, itch, giggle." Gina quickly withdrew her feet. "Pa, the light is on." Chanxiner's face turned red with a smile and she had no intention of sleeping. Suan knows that if he doesn't subdue this little fairy in his 30s tonight, he won't be able to feel comfortable. What do you really want? Accompany me to fight against landlords. Chanxiner picked up her phone and shook it. Her clothes are a bit messy, revealing a delicate and fair belly, very cute. Suan is unable to roast. Hurry up. Chanxiner stood up and patted the position next to her buttocks, gesturing for her to quickly sit down. She likes to play the game of heaven and earth's leopard fighting landlord, with a total of 8 arbitrary cards, which increases the likelihood of making a bomb. Anyway, from start to finish, it's all about frying. 2 people sat side by side, with Suan serving as a dog-headed strategist. Chanxiner's account currently only has 3,000 beans left, which were sent by the system. Booyah, she smiled and clicked on the match. In the first game, I was lucky. There were rocket, 4 QS, and 3 ground toads, equal to 3 arbitrary cards. Landlord grabbing, Chanxiner shouted excitedly along with the game voice. Because Suan is here, she is particularly happy to play. Don't grab, quickly. The ground toad was selected and turned out to be Q. This one, she has 7 free cards, plus rocket, it is so horrible. Watch me explode. Chanxiner couldn't help but laugh, and Suan followed suit. Super double, without a doubt, she won this game with a devastating momentum. But because Chanxiner's beans were only 3,000, he only won so much after a fierce operation like a tiger. After several consecutive rounds, her luck was good, and the happy bean quickly accumulated to 20,000. Go to the regular field to play a few games. Chanxiner felt a bit lost. She had been in the beginner field before. The landlord's room has 5 levels, namely beginner, normal, intermediate, and advanced levels. The threshold and win/loss ratio for each session gradually increase. Let's just forget it. Suan had a bad feeling. Don't waste all the beans you've worked hard to save. No, not really, I'm very lucky now. Chanxiner played enthusiastically, her fair face slightly flushed, like a freshly shelled egg. The two were so close that Suan could even smell the fragrance on her body. Then don't grab the landlord casually, he cautioned. Soon, a new round began. It was a regular game with a winning or losing cap of 25 million. The first 2 are the big and small kings, with good luck. Chanxiner smiled happily. Unfortunately, there was only 1 card left behind, and the cards were not coherent. This situation is very dangerous, usually a bait given by the system. If there is a high probability, there will definitely be more losses than wins. Don't snatch, but as soon as Suan finished speaking, Chanxiner snatched the landlord. There are rocket, who can't get away without robbing. Besides, she has 3 J. cards in her hand now, maybe the leprosy on the ground is J. Don't grab, Chanxiner successfully won the landlord's throne. But the miracle did not occur. The landlord's 3 cards were 3, 6, and 10, and they could only make up 2 pairs. The most uncomfortable thing for her was that the ground leprosy was actually 4, and she didn't have a single one in her hand. Chanxiner had a bitter face, hesitating and unsure of what to do. Try not to stir-fry and lower the multiples, Suan suggested. But the next player with good cards exploded their watch, directly doubling it, and another farmer also followed suit with a super doubling. 3 4 5 6 7 Chanxi, explosion, over, Gua. Chanxiner pouted. JJQQKK, over, Gua. Chanxiner bumped her head into Suan. For 2, it's been a pleasure working with you. The next player played a secret signal, and now he still has 5 cards in his hand, clearly a big bomb. For 7, another farmer understood and directly exploded. Rocket, Chanxiner's heart is crossed, and this pair of rocket is her last strong. Anyway, it's all just a gamble, and multiples are no longer meaningful. But awkwardly, the system has reached the maximum number of times it can send beans. How about buying some? Suan comforted. Only beings who engage in free prostitution have a soul. Chen Jiner quit the game with hatred, then lay down on the bed and lazily said, "Hammer my back for me." Suen glanced at the other person's straight and long legs, as well as their buttocks that looked like a full moon, and turned off the light directly. Sleep, end of this chapter.